what was Wayne doing here on a Sunday anyway?
I bet he'd come in to score.
How did you... oh, you mean with Miss Sugar?
Nobody knew I was coming in here at all. Nobody knows about Wayne and I, except Tabby and Juliet. Oh, and then there's Clarissa and Tiffany and Sarah and Stephanie, of course. Oh, and then there's Tilly and Miranda and Camellia and Sophia and Mrs. Mooney, of course.
Well, I must have got it wrong.
Perhaps you meant a different type of scoring. Like drugs.
And since you knew why I was here, that makes you his pusher.
Oh.
How about if we were to tell the boys in blue to search your room for drugs?
Why on earth would you tell Chelsea?
Chelsea? They play in blue. So, it's like an episode of Dim and Dimmer.
Well, they won't find anything in my room on account of you flying off and flushing it down the lab when you knew the old Bill were searching.
Oh, they'll find it somewhere. I've seen it on CSI. It's so cool. They'll find traces on your skin where you've opened the packet. Or there'll be traces round the bowl. I know it won't take Socko long to find the evidence. Time for truth or dare, Dickie.
He made me do it after our little accident.
You mean after you assaulted him?
After our little accident, he said he'd get me sacked if I didn't get him some coke.
Couldn't the lazy sod use the machine like the rest?
He said if he came himself, the press would find out. But a nobody like me would be safe. I didn't want to do it, Mrs. Sugar, but it's difficult to get a job in football with my speech impediment. So to stop getting sacked, you stabbed my Wayne? Wayne, what am I going to do without my Wayne?
Go back to stripping? That's dreadful. Come on, Alana, it's an old story. Mrs. Mooney was a stripper at Wayne's 25th. Wayne was so smitten, he made an honest woman of her.
I was always honest. Never cheated the punters. Always gave them what they paid for.
5 years on, still no nippers. Wayne knew it wasn't for lack of effort. Reckoned he might be a bit of a jaffer.
A what?
Seedless. Anyway, Miss Sugar's soon-to-be swelling girls seem to repel that possibility. You must have been livid, Susie. Or should I say, Tatiana, the Moscow seductress, as you used to be known.
The little bitch. Should have been my baby. The things I put up with. I'm going to miss my Wayne.
Look, Susie, if you're going to be short of a bit of male company like... Oh, how thoughtful of you, Clogger. Oh, thanks to Luna. Same goes for you, of course.
Charming. Utterly charming.
Well, I've got to include you as well. If it were a family ticket like.
So, it seems everyone has a motive.
Well, except for me. Nobody knew that I was here. When I found Wayne, we went into the changing rooms. You were changing rooms? I don't know. Went into the changing rooms, and then we had a bit of an argument. Went to the changing rooms. I had an argument, and I ran to the car. After I'd cooled down and came to see Mummy.
After you cooled down, dearie?
I was angry. Wayne said it had all been a big mistake. He said he loved me, but it would never work. But I didn't stab him. He was alive when I left, and if you've got CCTV in the changing rooms, you can check.
Oddly enough, we haven't. Apparently the players object to putting their tackle on public display.
Not that some of the wives are bashful.
Slap her.
Where you go? We've missed my best line. really need to do this line. It's very
Tallulah, start off with accept me, of course. Wayne and I was going to be together.
Except me, of course. Wayne and I were going to be together. It was totally blatant.
Of course you were, sweetie. You've been chasing after him for the last month. When you told him it wasn't. When you told him about your little present, he ran a mile. Said it wasn't his, because his gun wasn't properly loaded. But you've been chasing after him, and he's been running away.
He loved me. I know he did.
He ran straight back to me like he always did. Said he wouldn't do it again, like he always did. And told me to watch him, to keep you away from him. So, wait for it. Gun in the oven, and Wayne's heading for the hills. A spoilt little bwat like you must have found that hard to cope with.
He can't stay with that nasty, hard-faced cow. She's all mutton dressed as lamb. Look at her. Botox, silicone and lipstick. There's more plastic on her than a Barbie. How could he go for her instead of me? How could he? Well, how could he? See, it was a good line, wasn't it?
Because when it comes to Nookie, dear,
She's even better.
I'm Premier Division, while you're Heimburn Sunday League.
Well, perhaps we ought to work out where everyone was when the blow was struck. And then by process of elimination, we can home in on the murderer. As the great detective said, once we had eliminated the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth.
I've often said that, boss. Just what I was going to say.
What was?
What he just said.
Which was?
You know,
I want to hear you say it.
when you have eliminated the eliminated, then the improbable must be impossible.
Very indulgent to put it better.
Blimey, this is a waste of time.
Well, I was in the physio suite, boning up on deep tissue massage.
Not in the manager's office.
Only briefly.
And you have to pass the changing rooms to get to my office from the physio's cubicle?
I was only away a couple of minutes.
Didn't you look in the changing room?
I looked in ours, but I saw no reason to look in the away changing room.
I would have thought that the perfect place for a man so accomplished at playing away.
Or to slip him a line of coke.
And what about you, Miss Sugar?
Sorry. I didn't get here. We had trouble with these lines. I didn't get here until he was already dead when I arrived.
How do you know when he died?
Because you knew about it when I came.
When I drove in this morning, I thought to myself, Miss Sugar's here early. That was on account of your pink beetle being in the car park.
Yeah, well, maybe it took her a long time to walk across the car park because she could only walk slowly on account of the baby.
Maybe she met a couple of players and practiced making the next one.
At least I didn't get paid for it.
You little...
Get up.
Yeah. Oh, let him get it on next time.
So, where were you, Tallulah?
Well, I came looking for Wayne, and we went into the changing rooms together.
The away changing rooms.
Oh, I don't know. We had an argument and I ran back to the car. After I'd cooled down, I came in and found Mummy.
After you cooled down, dearie?
Well, I was angry. Wayne said it'd all been a big mistake. Said that he loved me, but it wouldn't work. but I didn't kill him. He was alive when I left. And if there's CCTV in the changing rooms, you'll be able to check.
Well, there apparently isn't. The players object putting their tackle on public display.
Not that the wives are so bashful.
Slapper.
Well, I was in my office.
Not all of the time.
Sorry?
Unless you were having a nap in the cupboard whilst Dickie was reading your mail.
I'm entitled to pop the loo from time to time. I find it so much more pleasant than using the waste bin.
Yeah. Sometimes the waste bin's handier.
Susie,
You never went downstairs?
Indeed not.
Well, how come I saw you going upstairs toward your office
It must have been somebody else. Perhaps Roman turned up early for his meeting.
in a 1970s sheepskin?
So you admit that you were down there, Mooney?
Of course I were down there. I found him, you silly cow. My Wayne with a knife in his back.
Oh, how cool is that? The spurned wife first on the scene. How hurler is that? And was it one of your knives? With perhaps the odd diamante on the handle?
I was looking for my Wayne, and there he was.
Yeah, but why were you looking for him when he had told you about Tallulah, but he was staying with you?
Oh, do pull yourself together, dear. He was only a man. When my Robbie joined the queue for a pint of heavenly Boddington.
Yes, I think we're all up to date with your views on men. Where were you when Brutus thrust his bare bodkin?
Who, boss?
Shakespeare clogger.
Not Brutus.
English literature clogger. I don't expect he's got a wide readership within these walls, but Shakespeare was quite popular in his day.
If you say so, boss.
Indeed I do. But the question is...
To be or not to be? I think that is the question. Whether it is nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles.
Oh, blimey.
Something I heard somewhere.
Yes, quite so. Anyway, where were you this morning, Mrs. Sugar?
Certainly not skulking around the changing rooms. I was working to save the good name of this club. I was reformulating our corporate strategy and running our business model through Porter's 5 forces.
Can you count that high?
How dare you? I've squashed bigger insects than you.
You could squash most things if you sat on them.
But where were you working? Not in your office when I strolled past.
In case you are unfamiliar with the female anatomy, it may come as a shock to learn that we also have bladders that need emptying from time to time.
Can you prove that?
I think you'll find it a generally accepted fact by most of the medical profession.
I see, yes. Very amusing. I see, yes, very amusing. But can you prove that's where you were this morning?
Yes, I can. I asked a groundsman to come with me in case I needed a witness.
Blimey, poor Nobby.
I think that was a joke, Clogger.
Oh, I knew that, boss.
So that leaves you, Clogger, an old lag in the twilight of his career, needing to get rid of the person who stands between him and a further contract. Where might you have been this morning?
I was in the changing rooms getting ready to use the gym.
Not when I popped in looking for Wayne, you weren't.
Well, I also have a bladder that needs emptying, if you're not familiar with the male alimony.
As it happens, I am quite familiar. I have a good grasp of the male anatomy.
I bet you do.
And I also know that you've never been seen in the gym on a Sunday morning. And if you were getting changed, you haven't done a particularly good job of it. Are we to expect that you always take your exercise dressed like that?
Yes. Well, when I got here, I decided I would pop in and see the boss before I got started. You know, check out the lie of the land for next season.
So, if we were to look in the changing rooms, we'd find your gym kit.
Given this is a football club and Clogger's one of our players, I'd say there's a pretty decent chance of finding his kit in the changing room. Did you think we'd trust him to take it home, remember to wash it, and bring it back with him for training?
Whatever, talk to the hand.
So, Sherlock, is that enough to eliminate the eliminated and to select the improbable from the impossible?
It's a tough one. No one's got an alibi, and every one of you has a motive. I fancy it'll all come down to forensics. Has anyone left traces of DNA on the knife? Has anyone got fibres of Wayne's clothing on theirs? Has anyone got microscopic traces of blood on their hands?